William, hopefully your favorite videographer. We are here at the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board meeting, the agency known as DART to Dallas, Texas residents. As a service to the Dallas community, we plan to cover DART board meeting from gavel to gavel. Public comments are required to keep DART board aware of issues close to the ridership that they may not get through other resources.
Good evening. It is now 6:40 p.m. today, Tuesday, August 8th, 2017, and the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board of Directors is now in session. Thank you for joining us this evening. The first item we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our July 11th meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second? Second. So there are no changes to the minutes. The minutes will stand as written. The next item we have on our agenda is the PAG report and most valuable operator recognition. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Patrick Wilson, and our PAG meeting began with a lovely breakfast and with plenty of sweets, and Doug Douglas told us not to get used to it because we were only having to recognize the celebration of the retirement of one of our longtime board members, Susie Rokeman. Then, to get back into our good graces, he announced that the drivers of the quarter, instead of receiving $150, it has been up to $200 apiece to be matched by MV for a total of $400 to each driver. And the first item on the docket was presented by Joseph Castillo in DART Finance, who discussed the new fare structure and payment system and the calendar of its rollout, potentially in 2018. And the next item, Tammy Hempling received a request from PAG member Trini Garza, who is also a member of the Senior Affairs, to discuss the survey presented by Cannon Flowers, which results indicated that seniors in the area code of 75217 and 75228 are underserved by public transportation. It's estimated that 4,000 to 5,000 residents in the East and South Dallas have no access to transportation. Following Mr. Flowers' presentation of the survey, DART's Rob Smith informed the group that several recommendations are already being formed and potential that would help the underserved, and a creation of 2 new on-call zones in the southern part of the 75217 will be replacing the flex service and expanding coverage. And the last item on the docket, Michelle Kaplan of DART discussed the LIFT program, which began May 22nd of 2017 and is currently serving 62 participants in the pilot. And to date, they have scheduled 2,200 trips and have completed 2,200 trips have been completed, and the driver rating has been 4.9 out of 5.0. The pilot will continue through September 30th, 2019. Okay, that concludes our PAG report, and now we'll have the drivers of the quarter.
Good evening. Our first most valuable driver for the second quarter of 2017 is Gary Durton. Operator Durton has worked as a paratransit operator since October of 2009. He is a 5-star performer, which shows in his work every day. He has a perfect work attendance with no accidents, no complaints, and he's always on time. Gary is an employee that is always willing to help when needed. This includes staying over late nights and coming in on weekends, whatever it takes to help serve the customer. He also serves as a union steward for the ATU and is one of our behind-the-wheel trainers. He truly loves and enjoys driving for DART, and he loves helping people and listening to his customers' personal stories while driving his bus. He attended the Dallas public school system. His hobbies are sports and coaching Little League at his church. He is also an accomplished photographer, which became his passion back in 1974. Gary is single with 3 children. One is in college, the other 2 are on their way to college. Tonight he will be receiving a lapel pin, a plaque, and a check for $200 from DART, matched by $200 by MV Transportation. Please join me in congratulating Gary as the most valuable driver. Okay, very good. Our next most valuable operator for the second quarter 2017 is Herbert Barnes. The Yellow Cab dispatch team was instrumental in voting Mr. Barnes the most valuable operator for the second quarter of 2017. The 15 dispatchers who voted were unanimous in their decision and said, Operator Barnes has an easygoing personality and is always willing to help with extra trips. They also said his Barry White voice doesn't hurt either. We offered him an opportunity to speak tonight, but he said he didn't want to at this time. From the management perspective, Herbert has a stellar record without a single chargeable accident since he started with the paratransit program. He has a 95.7% on-time performance record since January of 2017, and he has worked 6 days a week without missing a single day's work. The cherry on the cake is absolutely no complaints during this time. Operator Barnes is an only child and was raised just a few miles outside of New Orleans. He and his family of 2 girls and 1 boy moved to Dallas about 9 years ago. He has been with Yellow Taxi for over 8 years, working with Medicaid and then the DART paratransit program. He says his favorite things to do are to watch pro football, and of course he says the Saints are his team of choice. He also plays No Limit Poker, and he goes to movies. Taxi management said that Mr. Barnes is one of the best examples of 5-star service at Yellow Taxi. He will also be receiving a lapel pin, plaque, check for $200 from DART, matched by MV Transportation. Congratulations.
Gary, stay down here with me. It's not often that I get to present something to someone, so I'm excited about this. During the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials that was held in Detroit back in July, we had 2 recognitions from DART that came directly to the agency. First, recognized by the national chairman, the following awards: the 2017 Industry Award, President and CEOs awarded for excellence, went to Gary Thomas. Congratulations. And then the second award went to the Chairman's Exemplary Service Award, and that went to the Compto North Dallas chapter, which Carmen Garcia is the chairman of that chapter. So, Carmen. Okay, thank you for being patient with us doing that. The next item we have on the agenda is public comments. And general public comments are allowed at the beginning of each DART board meeting for a total of 30 minutes. And again, at the end of the meeting, when the 30-minute period does not allow for all speakers who have signed up to speak. Individuals who have addressed the board in the past 30 days will be recognized to speak during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. During the public comment period, board members are not allowed to interact with other board members or with the speakers by asking questions or offering their own comments. Members of the public are reminded that their behavior during DART board meetings is governed by the DART board Code of Conduct for citizens, news media, and visitors. Personal attacks, impertinent and slanderous remarks, and boisterous conduct will not be allowed. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. The green light on the podium will indicate when you can begin speaking. The yellow light indicates you have 1 minute remaining, and the red light indicates your time has expired. Our first speaker this evening is Berlinda Berry. Followed by Ms. Berry is Charmaine Hightower. Ms. Berry.
Good evening, everyone. I have some information for DART board members. I made copies for 18 of them, I was told. And I'd like to read a letter that what happened to me on July 6th. Thank you. July 16th of this year. I said, I'm writing regarding an incident that happened to me on Sunday, July 16th. I called DART for bus directions at 4:57 p.m. The recording said that there were 3 callers ahead of me. Then I got down to the next caller. Then the recorder told me that I was next in the queue. I stayed in the queue until 9:11 p.m. Sunday, when I decided to hang up the phone. I was under the impression that DART closed at 5, and any calls that comes in before 5, you're going to be in that queue. They're going to take that call. I worked in the call center before, and for us, that's how it works. On Sunday, and then that queue will be cleared before the employees left the department. I did call your complaint department first thing Monday. I got a hold of Tony in that department. I did tell Tony what happened and that I will be at the next board meeting to complain, and here I am. I was told that this complaint would be looked into. I told him I paid too much for DART, DART bus fares to be treated this way. He said, and I just said at the end, no, please do not go up on the bus fares. And I'm also going to send the same letter to Washington Department of Transportation to make sure that's looked into. And I still haven't heard anything yet from DART. to be in the queue, and you're next in the queue, you're next in the queue. And this went on until 9:11 p.m. until I decided to hang up.
Ms. Berry, I'm sorry for your experience, but I do have someone here tonight who can visit with you. Nevin Grinnell, he's waving his hand at you right behind you there. If you could, please share your experience with him. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Charmaine Hightower, followed by Coach Norris Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Charmaine Hightower. I work at Richland College. This is my son, Christopher Hightower. Chris is diagnosed at 4 with mild to moderate autism, mild to moderate mental retardation. He is nonverbal with the mentality of a child. The reason why I'm here in front of the board, I'm here to discuss 3 occurrences that happened to Chris while he was in the custody of paratransit. Let me give you the most recent one. On July 31st, 3 unauthorized strangers approached Chris' paratransit van, told the driver that they know me, they were going to take Chris to me. The driver released Chris to these 3 unauthorized strangers, no question asked, and drove off. Chris tried to resist getting off the van because he knew visually this wasn't where he was supposed to be on my campus, and he didn't see me, but the driver forced Chris off with these 3 strangers. Chris could have been raped. Chris could have been molested. He could have been killed. By the time these 3 grown men took Chris over to my destination where I was waiting for Chris, Chris was just traumatic, shocked. He was just shocked and he didn't know what was going on. Where was my mother? So I want Chris' compensation to fall under the Texas child endangerment law. Yes, Chris is 33 years old, but Chris has a child mentality. Let me move on to the second occurrence. Chris was on his way to his day hab center. As exiting off of his van, Chris fell down. Paratransit didn't let me know about that. His nurse at his day hab said the kids were screaming, "Chris, fall down, Chris, fall down." By the time she ran out the front door, Chris was tumbling on the ground. The driver did call the supervisor. Supervisor came out, said, "I don't see anything visually wrong that I can see," and left. I left work, took Chris to the emergency room. He had a bad sprained right ankle. Let's move to the third occurrence. A paratransit cab driver dropped off Chris on the wrong side of campus at Richland College where I worked. I called the Dallas police. The Dallas police did a ground and helicopter night search for Chris. They getting ready to call out the dive team for Chris, but through the grace of God, Chris did find his way back to my office in a pitch dark. Understand, for where the driver dropped him off to my office over 20 football fields in distance, Chris walked in the pitch dark. You please have to make NV Transportation more accountable of their actions, because I don't want what Chris went through to have other child have to go through, especially first when the driver released Chris to strangers that Chris didn't even know. That's scary. That's very scary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hightower. I have Doug Douglas here. Doug, will you please visit with Ms. Hightower? He's right behind you there. Thank you. Thank you. Coach Johnson, followed by Gail Gomez.
I want to first begin by thanking Mr. Thomas for 5 of his very valuable minutes prior to this meeting, within which I did convey some serious concerns as a native Dallasite, not only about our DART system and the proficiency of it that I have seen compared to other systems from Chicago all the way to Seattle, Washington, and in between down in Houston, San Antonio, Austin, other places. We do have one of the very best systems in this nation, trust me. I've seen it throughout my travels. We need to bear in mind 3 very positive things. Our police forces, both DART and Dallas, are short in numbers and growing shorter every day. The sad reality of it is crime is growing more and more every day of our lives. And we have to maintain an awareness when we get all upset about fares of what economics does to our lifestyles. The devaluation of the American dollar versus the euro. If you all were to check into that, you might be shocked into a reality check. I don't have a ton to say tonight, but I do want to say that we need to be appreciative of what we have. We know what we want, but compare what we have to other places in this nation that are far worse than what we have. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming. The next speaker is Gail Gomez, followed by Demetria Washington.
Good evening, board members and all that are here this evening. I am here because of the safety issue. Something has to be done with the rail system, especially the red and the orange lines. I ride it every day to work and home. Unfortunately, I was on the train and a passenger was robbed. The gentleman was right here next to me, jumped over and took a senior citizen male's phone and ran off at the Walnut Hill station, 5:40 something in the evening. We cannot have this. The driver of the train, I notified him and let him know what was going on. He had the passenger come up to him, but he did not take the train out of service to even question us to say what we saw, who we saw, anything. It's becoming a regular occurrence on the red and orange trains. Just this past, 2 weeks ago, we had a woman down at the West End where I board the train every day, unconscious. Mr. Harris, who is the supervisor from DART, he assisted the woman. He got her off the train so that the train can move on, the system can keep moving. But the matter is, we have a safety issue here. Can you all do something about it because it's getting worse? I ride it every day. I'm even late for work because of what's going on. I can't do that. Can someone just think about the passengers who have to ride it? I ride it every day. Every time we turn around, there's a problem with the system. This is a small system. I pay for my pass from my company. We are having too many problems with these lines. Why we don't ever see a policeman there? But I just would like for you all to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Chief Wallen, will you visit with Ms. Gomez while she's here, please? You see the chief there, ma'am? Thank you. Okay, Ms. Washington, followed by Ralph Hawkins.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would just like to say I'm concerned about the safety as well with DART. I ride DART to work every day. I know a policeman cannot be on every train, but I do believe we can maybe get cameras or something like that on the train would be maybe a good start, where we can see what's really going on the train. I have been late 6 times to work this year due to DART. I don't get an explanation why. All you hear is ding, ding, ding. You will be delayed here for a few moments. That's unacceptable. I'm tired of being late to work. I'm going to get fired soon if this keeps up. Another thing, the cleanness on the train. I have got on the train 3 times this year and the seat was wet. I can appreciate that. I have to touch every time I get on the train because the seat's, I don't know if it's pee, I don't know what it is, but it's wet. Don't appreciate that. The first time I sat down, got my clothes wet. Unacceptable. Another thing that's going on the train is the homeless issue. I have pictures on my phone, homeless people on the train, sleep, outside the train, sleep. I'm tired of that. If y'all could please do something to address that issue. Thank you.
Ms. Washington, while you're here, Mike Holbrook, will you visit with him, please? Okay, thank you. Mr. Hawkins, followed by Bryce Weak.
Madam Chair, DART board members and DART representatives, as well as stakeholders. My name is Ralph Hawkins, and I'm chairing the Coalition for New Dallas, Dallas Mobility Council, which is an umbrella organization that was founded by Coalition for the New Dallas to serve as an umbrella organization to bring best practices to all the mobility committees. And we have written a letter of support for the D2 alignment, and I was just going to read you, each of you should have letters. It is a view of the DMC participants that the current alignment of D2 as a subway is generally acceptable as proposed by DART on the condition that its construction does not impact any plans as outlined by TxDOT's city map document to remove Highway I-345 so it may be replaced at surface level or eliminated in the future. We understand that DART does not have any power over TxDOT, but we just wanted to make sure that the D2 line did not interfere with that potential. We want to continue to build trust with the DART organization and the stakeholders. I will tell you our committee has multiple groups represented within it, and there wasn't a total consensus, but there was a general support and majority that do support the D2 line. The Dallas Mobility Council participants insist also that if any obstacles evolve that impact any of the sections of the alignment, that the remaining options still be on the table. We are emphatically supportive of the subway and opposed to the surface line. There's also concern regarding the pressing schedule and its impact on all the decision making, but that's something that we will all have to live with, you understand. But also the DMC is firmly committed to the priority of the D2 alignment over the Cotton Belt line, as well as a strong commitment for continued improvement in the trolley, streetcar, and bus service. Very quickly, the major D2 alignment sections that we were concerned with, the Victory Station West End alignment, we think it needs further study, maybe even possibly a design work session. The Commerce alignment, we strongly support. And the Swiss Avenue alignment received the most discussion in regards to the alternative and feasible monument route, as well as the surface solution to I-345. So in closing, we appreciate DART's representation and participation with our group. Our frequent meetings, I think, and timely feedback were instrumental in the interim approval of the D2 alignment, and we thank you for the opportunity to give feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. You visited with staff before, right?
I'm sorry?
Have you visited with our staff before?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Let me pronounce it correctly. Wiggin.
Wiggin, yes.
Okay. Followed by Jonathon Hetzel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. Thank you this evening. I'm Bryce Weak, and I'm chair of the First Presbyterian Church DART Task Force. Please accept this note of support for the continuing and prompt planning for the DART D2 subway in downtown Dallas. First Presbyterian Church at Young and Harwood is supportive of the planning efforts exemplified by the DART staff and their planning consultants. As vocal opponents of the D2 surface line proposed last year, the church was heartened by the current subway planning leading to a new locally preferred alternative to be finalized later this summer. While last year's LPA on Jackson Street was acceptable to the church, the alternative on Young Street would have bifurcated our church campus, seriously disrupting our mission and outreach. It is our belief that a subway is a far better choice both for the immediate downtown and the entire community. As the year and planning has progressed, we have participated fully in the stakeholder meetings and the Deep Ellum charrette held earlier this year. DART staff and consultants have been and continue to work with the stakeholders. We understand the complications of an endeavor such as this, and we recognize the need for compromise, flexibility, and consensus building. The D2 subway routes have been and continue to be thoroughly studied through the planning process, as you all know. We believe, based upon what is currently known, that the Commerce Street alignment with the Victory connection on the west and the Swiss Avenue connection on the east will provide the most direct, logical, and flexible planning and routing. We also understand that issues may surface which will require either minor or perhaps major adjustments. One would not know that until discovered, of course. However, due to the critical nature of the timeliness of the proposed submittal to the Federal Transportation Authority, DART's efforts toward the completion of this submittal should be advanced as quickly as possible. Our church is supportive of the D2 subway as well as the much discussed and needed improved bus services. The subway line is a regional project, not just for the Dallas proper, but will allow the entire system to flourish and thrive. We have been at this location since 1912. We were founded on February 3rd, 1856, one day after the city of Dallas was incorporated. We have long been and continue to be an anchor in downtown Dallas. Please know of our continuing support for DART and all of your endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Hetzel.
Hi, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Jonathon Hetzel. I'm president of Deep Ellum Foundation, and we've been working closely with DART on this whole D2 line. I want to start off by saying we are at Deep Ellum Foundation supportive of the Victory Commerce Swiss. We do understand that the D2 will effectively double the DART rail system, but we also ask everybody to remember that that comes at significant disruption, both temporarily and permanently, for the Deep Ellum neighborhood. One key example is that the Swiss alignment would result in us losing our Deep Ellum named DART station without getting a new one in its place. We're willing to accept that, given that it doubles the rail network system, provided we work closely with DART on the Baylor station, as it's called right now, and potentially renaming Baylor Deep Ellum, work on the pedestrian connectivity from that into the core of Deep Ellum, and so forth. The other thing that we're keenly focused on, like others, is 345, and we want to make sure the D2 doesn't make any 345 potential options off the table. So far, we are generally in agreement that it shouldn't, as we understand it. And the rail line will, on the Swiss, still be on the surface on the Deep Ellum side of 345. So we're adding more tracks, more trains, the whole 9 yards on the surface. So we are encouraged by how we've been working with DART staff on how all that might work, embedded tracks instead of the boulders and the whole 9 yards, and keeping pedestrian connectivity, developable business sites left over at the end, and all that jazz. We also strongly believe that while D2 is extremely important for doubling the rail network capacity of the system as a whole, a revamped bus system is what would serve the vast majority of customers. And so we want to make sure everybody understands, from the Deep Ellum neighborhood's perspective, a revamped bus system is as important, if not more important, than a D2 line. Besides that, thanks for allowing me to speak, and appreciate you giving me the time.
Thank you, and thanks for coming. Okay, we're going to take a break from public comments. We'll be back to public comments at the end of our agenda. The next item we have are our consent items. We have consent items 4, 5, and 6. I need a motion for those items, please.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for items 4, 5, and 6. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, items passes unanimously. Next item is item number 7.
Madam Chair, I'm going to recuse myself from this item, as my law firm represents Baylor, Scott & White, which is the parent company of Baylor, Scott & White Health. I do not represent either entity, nor is the law firm involved in this particular matter, but I thought out of an abundance of caution, I should recuse myself.
Thank you, Mr. Wageman.
Item number 7 did come before the Planning Committee. Approval of the Baylor, Scott & White Post Shuttle Service Agreement, and I move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for item number 7. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Next item we have on the agenda, same night item number 8, which came through the Budget and Finance Committee. Give you a minute there, Mr. Wageman. Okay, now item number 8.
Madam Chair, this item was considered at today's meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee, was approved unanimously. I'm pleased to make a motion for approval to distribute the proposed fiscal year 2018 annual budget and 20-year financial plan to the 13 municipalities within the DART service area.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for item number 8. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposes? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Item number 9 was deferred to the next board meeting on August 22nd. We can go ahead now and continue with our public comments. And the next public speaker is Mr. Charles Shelburne, followed by Dan Cole.
Good evening. My name is Charles Shelburne. I'm Vice President of Campus Planning with the Real Estate Department for Baylor Scott & White. And I'm here this evening addressing the board, supporting the D2 Swiss Avenue alignment option. For the Dallas campus, first of all, we're grateful to have the station, and we're open to discussions with Deep Ellum about the renaming of that station. I think there's an opportunity there for the public benefit to have that discussion. We have written a letter to the mayor, and we'll be sending that over to the board as well. The D2 Swiss Avenue alignment is twofold. One, it's the least impactful to the campus, both during construction for Pacific and Gaston Avenue, along with least impactful to the station during that time. And this is important because in healthcare, minutes count. And a stroke victim, a few moments can be the difference between permanent paralysis and a full recovery. So that's very critical to not only to Dallas, but all of North Texas, because the Baylor location, the Dallas location, is one of 2 level 1 trauma centers in North Texas. Second, the D2 station and the Swiss Avenue alignment provides for future growth and future growth to the north, which would provide better access for our patients, visitors, and staff. With that, thank you for your time. We'll be circulating that letter, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelburne. Dan Cole, followed by Gary Stewart.
Good evening. I'm Dan Cole. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at the Pearl Museum of Nature and Science. I've been with the museum 8 years, and I remember when I first got hired, Nicole Small, our CEO at the time, taking me to an empty, vacant lot and pointing out with great pride, this is where the building is going to be, and this is where the DART line is going to be. So it's an exciting day for us to come in support of the D2 line. We immediately went to work with our architect, Tom Main, to orient our front door of our building towards that D2 line and that station. So we're excited this day is getting closer. We will be celebrating our institution's 5th birthday this fall and have already welcomed over 5 million visitors through our doors. We have very high satisfaction ratings for our guests, but transportation to the museum and parking are consistent concerns voiced by our visitors. So we certainly want to encourage you to support the locally preferred Victory Commerce Swiss D2 alignment and the museum station. The addition of a DART line will enhance our museum's ability to better serve the community and to expand our reach. Our board members and staff have worked with the DART staff in the past couple of years and appreciate the collaboration we've been able to have with them. I brought a copy with me of our letter of support that has been previously sent to you, and it is signed by our board chair and our CEO. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. I'm going to try this again. Mr. Stewart. Followed by Robert Caldwell. I could tell by the laughter, evidently I didn't pronounce it correctly.
That's okay. I've been called a lot of things, not just mispronounced my last name. My name is Gary Stewart. I'm a resident of Dallas, Texas, and I'm also chief organizer for System Change and Climate Change here in this area, and also involved with the North Texas Transit Riders. I spoke before the last time, and I know concerning the initially proposed rate hikes for fees with DART, I know that's been put on hold, and we're very grateful for that. And also want to congratulate I believe 4 new members of the board. But even though it's put on hold, we still want to emphasize that the initial 120% rate hike was utterly unacceptable and would harm particularly the poor to be able to use, and the young and the elderly, to use DART. And what was really shocking, that it was presented to us as though it was a done deal. Yes, there were hearings, but, pretty much was like, well, this is going to happen. And we just want to, those of us who are wearing our T-shirts, is to say, no. The public has a right to be part of any decision regarding to increasing of fees. Also, that we have a right to be involved in any process of deciding how to better democratize DART and the bus system and the rail system. to make it available and to expand it. Because as one of the person representing the mayor's poverty task force was saying, Dallas has a poverty issue. Dallas has one of the worst records when it comes to income disparity. So we need to have that addressed. There is a need also to expand DART because Texas is #1 in carbon emissions. And if you're not aware, it's getting worse and worse with climate disruption. We need to reduce car use in this city and increase mass transit, and the public needs to be involved with this all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for coming. Our next speaker is Robert Caldwell, followed by Ramona Holyfield.
Good evening. My name is Robert Caldwell, and I come to you tonight representing Solidarity. The fare restructuring proposals that were previously put forth are a war against the working class in North Texas. It is really, really unacceptable that the most vulnerable in our region are used to balance capital improvements and technological upgrades. The overall rate increase of 20% far exceeds the rate of inflation, which is about 6.6%. Is much, much higher than wage increases, which have been stagnant for decades, much higher than minimum wage increases, which have not increased for now 8 years. And I think it's unacceptable that the board was considering eliminating trade schools from the reduced rate, given that universities, including elite private university students, would be allowed to continue to have reduced rates. The $2.50 reduced regional, which I use whenever I go to university, whenever I go to work, and whenever I like to ride instead of drive, will go to $6 per day. And I can tell you that at $2.50, I love riding DART, but at $6 a day, I might put the gas in my tank and pay the tolls to drive on the toll roads and save the hour and 45 minutes that I would spend commuting. In closing, I want to thank the North Texas Transit Riders for urging me to come out today, and I want to thank the board for listening carefully to our comments. I think the DART board and DART as a whole should focus on increasing ridership and public support for the system, on expanding the footprint of the system and increasing frequency, not only of the trains, but also the buses. I think that we have the ability to really transform things here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and DART could be the center of that. Yuck, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Next up is Ramona Holyfield, followed by Kevin McCormick. Do we have a Ramona Holyfield? Oh, okay, Mr. McCormick, followed by Robin Kirk.
Thank you very much, and members of the board. Can you hear me now? All right. I don't do this very often. My name is Kevin McCormick. I live in Carrollton, Texas. Now, I've heard about the D2, and of course we heard all about the Cotton Line. I was a little disappointed, but looking at the plan for the Cotton Line, I'm hoping the delay results in a big improvement in the way it's designed. But I wanted to talk tonight about poor relations. You know, everybody has a poor relation in their family, or maybe you are the poor relation. In the transportation family, I have a feeling, after looking at the North Central Texas Council of Governments transportation plans, that I'm talking to the poor relation in the transportation family. And I want to suggest that there should be a major refocus of emphasis on not being the poor relation. And this is going to come from focus on public relations And this would be little things that are not in the headlines and do not attract a lot of attention. Sidewalks to bus stops, bicycle paths, access. The drivers can tell you which stops do not have good access. And I don't know if you collect the information, but you should. And the North Central Texas Council of Governments, which had 0.05% of their budget for alternative transportation, which is what I'm talking about, should be the one that says, no, we're not going to do it. DART should not say, no, we're not going to do it by not asking. So I would like for DART to step up to the plate and really push sidewalks and bicycle paths. Thank you very much.
Mr. McCormick, I'd like for you to visit with Todd Plesko. He's right here waving his hands at you. Okay, thank you, sir. Robin Kirk, followed by Rachael Francis.
Hello, thanks for having me here. I want to address the fare restructure, but specifically one aspect of it that was already mentioned. That is the 140% increase for reduced regional riders. The DART board has to understand there is no need to split this so quickly, so abruptly, just in the name of realignment. I do appreciate that DART moved its fare decision back. I hope you'll continue to do that. Eventually, though, you're going to have to recognize people have already made life decisions based on this reduced regional fare that actually made interregional connectivity affordable to people who it wouldn't have otherwise have been. This included seniors who were able to find financial relief and lower cost housing in places like Denton and Fort Worth, while remaining connected to friends, children, grandchildren, doctors, medical facilities in Dallas, Plano, Richardson, and Carrollton. This is one that's really close to me as a former teenager who used DART and who really appreciated having that regional reduced fare. High school students, children whose parents depended on lower fares to open their worlds, to the cultural and job offerings in other cities and at universities in Dallas, in Denton, and in Fort Worth, like TCU, UNT, TWU, and SMU. Someone from Dallas could actually take their 3 children to the exhibit at UNT, to the exhibit at TCU, to the concert at TWU, and have it be affordable because of that relief. Keep in mind, this affects only people who get that reduced rate. This 140% increase in the name of realigning the fares, that's 140% more paid by children, high school students, disabled riders, and senior citizens. This is not people who have a lot of money. This is people on a very fixed income. Why isn't this being rolled out slowly? Where is the justification, the financial justification for hitting people in this reduced group with 140% all at once? We know Dallas's seats on the DART board were recently turned over, and many of us celebrated this as a sign that the board would refocus on ridership. This is your chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. Last is Rachael Francis.
Good evening, board members. I've come to you from Frisco, Texas, which I'm hoping that you're going to expand out eventually that way. Basically, I've just come to attention. I'm a dual citizen of the UK, so I do know about the euro right now. And also, I was just going to say I was shocked to find out the price increase, because having traveled around the world, a lot of cities, my pass in particular in London has stayed probably about the same last 10 years with little increases. So I was shocked to see such a high increase. And for someone who I believe in public transport, I rode the DART today, so I drove to Carrollton and rode up with my colleagues from the North Transit riders. So we got there and we took the train here, and we chatted to a lot of people who said they were really struggling. I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but in Collin County, it's one of the most expensive counties to live in, with a sliding scale of $67,000 to $100,000 to afford, take care of a family. So a lot of families are doing 2 to 3 jobs. So something like this would probably make or break families, which is, also I just wanted to say, things like when I have taken it, I've been stranded before downtown, waiting 45 minutes for a connection, and that's kind of, if you've been to any other cities or, that's kind of unacceptable, and would discourage people from using it. So, and another thing would be, also it'd be great to have like CCTV. I know people were talking about security. We have that in the UK, and it seems to help a lot. So, and give, if anything, people a sense of security. So, anyways, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming. Do we have anyone else who wanted to speak? Any more public speakers? Yes, sir. We need to get a card for you to fill out. Did you fill out a speaker's card? Okay, come on down.
All right, sorry for that. Sorry for the inconvenience about that. I filled out the card kind of quick or whatever, but yeah, my name is Stephen Richmond.
That's okay. We'll get you another one to fill out.
Okay, perfect. My name is Stephen Richmond. I came down here from Plano, Texas. Yeah, what? I do have a couple items that I want to hook on right quick. First off, I do love the Cotton Belt situation, because the thing about it is I do not like to spend 2 hours on the train coming from the Plano going all the way to DFW Airport. That's kind of just crazy. But I work at Amazon in Irving, and I take the 509 every day coming out of there, and the problem with that is the 509 don't run on Sunday. So I'm sitting up here, have to walk 30 minutes and about an hour to the train station to downtown Plano, get on the train, get off at Beltline Station, take the 500, walk 30 minutes to Amazon, and have to do this all over again. That's a problem, because it's not only the 509, it's the 870 that runs until 8:30. That's a problem. And also, it seems like I have to wait a certain hour or a couple minutes, and I feel like DART needs to look into Sunday schedules regarding, like, some areas like Plano, whatever, in Irving, whatever. Second thing is the bus fares. Now, I understand that everybody was talking about the bus fares and going up $6, but I think we need to realize that we need to focus on the ridership and focus on the homeless population, because homeless people need to get to jobs too. Right. Okay. And the thing about it is, and that also, and we need to allocate more money to working buses and trains, because I'm getting tired of the buses keep breaking down, and I have to be late 30 minutes to going to work. It's the real estate. Oh, okay. The real estate is going up and everything else, and we need to keep our jobs, basically. So we need working buses and trains. And then the safety issues is, I heard about what happened with the attack, and that's unacceptable. There should have been a police officer on that train. It should be police officers on the trains regardless. It should not be police officers on the train because after someone got shot or murdered at a train station or got attacked. It should be police officers there on the spot to help us in situations like this. That's very, very, very unacceptable. And we need to work on this issue. Thank you.
Sir, while you're here, I want you to visit with Tim Newby for a few minutes. Okay, he's right behind you there. Okay, thank you, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I have no other speakers signed up to speak. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, we have no further speakers. We have no further business for this evening. So 7:33 p.m. and the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.